Okay, welcome everybody to this evening's XAUUSD webinar. My name is Duncan Cooper. Tonight's webinar is Forex Trading Live Market Analysis. Through the week, we've got more webinars coming up. Tomorrow I'll be doing a webinar called Identifying a Simple Trade Setup using a Trendline Break and Following a Written Trading Plan. So that's tomorrow's webinar, taking you through a trade setup. And then more analysis on Thursday. So those were all my webinars this week are at 7 p.m. Sydney time. Just go head over to the webinar page if you want to join me and register. All right, before we get into it, if you can all read through the disclaimer. For those on the YouTube live stream, I cannot see the chat, but you're more than welcome to join us. I've given you the link. For those in the webinar, you can use the chat box or the Q&A box. Talk to me. Raina, hi to you. Azu, hello to you. So everyone, please read through the disclaimer before we move along. All right, let's move along. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor at XAUUSD. And I'm full-time Forex trader. I've been trading nearly 20 years now in the Forex market, mentoring for more than 10. If you want to contact me, my email is there, duncan.cooper@acy.com. And if you want to follow us through the week, you can connect with us at the website, acy.com, go to the Market News tab, or our YouTube channel at XAUUSD Australia. And if you want to connect with me personally, just head over to my Linktree page. You can connect with me there. If you want to get access to my chart lesson templates I'm using on MT4, just contact Nathan.bray. His email's at the bottom there. I'll put his details in the chat for you. He can set you up if you want to get set up. Just give him a contact. There we go. All right, let's get into the items coming out on the news front for the week. All right. So much for Forex.com time, showing our Queensland and New South Wales time. And just want to refresh my page. All right, so the next news coming up is from Canada, GDP month on month, and the US Employment Cost Index, QQ, it's at 10:30 p.m. Then at midnight, we also have the US CB Consumer Confidence data. Moving into morning tomorrow, 1st of May, New Zealand employment change, QQ unemployment rate. So employment figures at 8:45. Holiday tomorrow in China, Switzerland, Europe, notably France, German, Italy. And then at 10:15 p.m. for US, we have ADP non-farm employment change, 11:45 p.m. US final manufacturing PMI, and midnight US ISM manufacturing PMI, job openings. Then at 4 in the morning, we have the US federal funds rate, FOMC statement, and then 4:30 press conference. So we're not expecting a change. The market will be, of course, looking at what the Fed says. Indication of when maybe they might cut rates, or are they going to start to indicate maybe that's a long way away at the moment. Data's been more positive, so it has been certainly adding strength to the US dollar, and the idea that they did say we may get an interest rate cut in June. I don't think that's coming anymore, so we'll look for the guidance there. So of course that's going to be volatile there in the middle of our night. And then we've got Bank of Governor Macklem speaks, Bank of Canada, Governor Macklem, 6:15 a.m. from Canada into the afternoon. Swiss CPI month on month. Unemployment claims, 10:30 for the US. Again, Macklem speaks at 10:45. And whilst we're into the first Friday of the month, that means we will have on 10:30 p.m. for the US, we'll have average hourly earnings, non-farm employment change, and the unemployment rate. So job figures as well. So we've got interest rates and job figures from the US this week. So it's going to be highly volatile Thursday, Friday. All right. Got to work out whether you want to be in the market or not. So you're just going to wait for these items to pass. And of course, midnight, Saturday morning, ISM service PMI data. So lots of data there from the US getting released. So let's bear all that in mind. Today, we've got a little bit of news at 10:30 p.m. from Canada and US. So we'll see how that will drive the market. And of course, they're at 12 as well. All right, let's get into charts. Now, of course, it's already been a very volatile start of the week on the yen pairs. Just got my euro yen here in front of me, but we'll get to the yen pairs in a moment. Let's just start on the dollar index. It's trying to the weekly chart, it's trying to maybe hold above this area, but with a down week last week, but finished pretty much even for the week. Slightly negative on the day candle at the moment. And we're having more of a corrective phase down here. And really, it's just going not too far anywhere, is it really? It's in a holding pattern, really waiting for data. So, but it's worth understanding that this could naturally drift down the range if it wants to. Excuse me a moment, because it's raining outside. All right, I don't know whether you can hear the rain at my house, but it's actually pouring down. Now, it's just worth noting the position of the dollar index at the moment. It is quite high up, but it's trying to hold its trend. And if the US news comes out this week, fairly US dollar positive, anticipate we're going to be moving higher. S&P 500, of the range I've been watching on the daily chart, which is in a downtrend, we have hit back to the 62 area. We start to hold in that area, watch it set up to sell. Are we going to be moving down to what was the all-time high at 48.16 over time? All this over this side is just corrective of this move up here, which is a weekly leg up. So it's just a question of where is this going to bottom out? Has it already bottomed out? Or is it going to have another move down, maybe just 127 extension and come close to the support area and then bottom out? All right. I have to say, not that easy to interpret at the moment, just its position. Could have already bottomed out here because it has put a high bottom in here, but it's within this range, that movement down there. So it could just be getting back into the 62.79% area and want to turn back over. So you need to drop down maybe to a lower time frame to see a turnover if you want to get short. All right, now we have been seeing a little bit of weakness today on the pairs versus the US dollar. So the euro dollar, having said that, the last two candles were obviously popping up. But half an hour ago, we were at the bottom of this range and now we're at the top of the range. And the range I'm talking about today chart is this area, weekly support or resistance here and here. So this area in here, the market's just contending with, can it move above cleanly, or is it going to hold here to move down? Now, whilst the day trend is up, it's reclaiming the loss of the month at the moment. The weekly trend is down. It's lower top, lower bottom. We've had about a 50% retracement up here at the moment of that range. So we could pop up to the 62.79% area, this area of old support. That's worth watching after the FOMC because we don't know what price will do then. So it's a little bit difficult at the moment. Price may not go too far, be it up or down until we get the FOMC data or even jobs data. Jobs data might be the final push to get up here. But it's worth noting, this is the move down for the month. We're just naturally correcting back up within the candle of the month. And I'm just looking for this to fail somewhere for a lower weekly top to fall. So as I've been saying, if you move to the 4-hour chart, we're kind of getting support on the weekly area of support, and we're getting resistance at the weekly resistance area. You can see it's getting a little bit kind of triangular pattern here at the moment. It's very mixed. All right. So it's mixed. It's mixed. There's a bit of a range here that we can see. If we go to yesterday's high, this was fractionally lower. Today's low at the moment. 79% level there of the range we've been making over the last day and a half. Certainly we're watching up at 107.23. If it starts to hold here, then I would look for this to hold here to move back down to support once more. May just stay within that range, the confounds of that range at the moment. All right, so you don't want to be buying into resistance here anyway at the moment. So if you're going to get long today, down here on support was a good area. Now you're at resistance where would be an ideal area to look for taking profit or locking something in. And you know, if you're more to the short side, then what's going to happen here? All right. Do you start to see a reversal in this area to move back down today? Euro yen, I noticed this was just popping up to central pivot point as was coming in. So we had a massive move up yesterday early, and then obviously an even massive move down yesterday. So I don't know whether the bodge intervened or we had hedge funds coming in and, you know, trading, but we had a massive move down the yen pairs. So it does, you know, we go to the day chart. This is still in an uptrend in terms of trend, high tops and bottoms, but after that horrible candle, it's very difficult. Do you go long? Do you go short? It's very difficult. You need to start to see what maybe the 4-hour chart is going to do over the next few days. Does it come back up to 169.95, which is a major monthly top? All right. So we've obviously false broke. Clearly, the large participants in the market were watching this area for a failure yesterday. Be it the bodge, or be it institutional traders, hedge funds, large traders, okay, wanting to position themselves to get short up there maybe. So it's definitely an area where it's had a major reaction from. So it is worth maybe thinking that we're having a failure up there, drawing the fib across that massive move down, and monitoring, see a 62% level lines up very closely with last week's high, 169.28. If we can get that high, it's going to be interesting, just the 50-minute chart. It's going to be interesting to see how much buying pressure you can get. You know, who wants to buy this now after that massive intervention? Maybe difficult. So in a strong downtrend, strong continuation of the downtrend yesterday, often we don't get much above the central pivot point here. We're just touching it. Maybe we're rejecting it. You could just be watching at the moment for a trend line break. If we get a trend line break, then is that enough to trigger to move down today? All right. Difficult on these yen pairs. The ranges on these 15-minute candles are rather large. Excuse me a moment. I did notice one was about 50 pips a few hours back. Not too bad here at the moment. There was one here, more like 50 pips, about 20, 30 pips at the moment. So ranges are large. Be difficult just to get in and risk 20 pips. So those are all things you need to, you know, contemplate. Do you want to see the volatility just drop down a little bit before you know, start to look for trades up or down? All right, euro pound, very range bound. It's back down to an area of support here. It is just getting back to, oh, it's at the 79% level. So are we. coming back this way. We had a leg up, pull back, we're moving back up. All right. Over the next day, do we start to see 85.43? That's coming from, this is a weekly low back in time. Looks like we're getting a false break at that level. Does that start to offer support on the lower time frames over the next few days? Let's see this 4-hour chart come up now. Of course, you could be getting long now, stop below here, or you could be waiting for this to come up, then pull back to a 62.79% retracement type of pullback, and then get long as well. So what are you looking for? What do you need to happen to get long? All right, so it does look like we're coming back up above the 79. You could be getting long at the 79 right now. Stop below here if you want a large stop. Are we moving back up the range? Of course, the euro dollar is moving up at the moment, and I haven't got to the pound yet, but the pound's maybe not moving up as much. And that's why we're seeing what we're seeing. Move up there. All right, let's get into the pound. All right, so pound is trying to hold maybe at the 62% level of this. This is the range of the month, and that's the lower top, lower bottom on the weekly chart. So we're just coming back up within that range to put maybe another lower top in on the weekly. Lawrence is saying 168. I'm guessing you're saying about the euro yen. Yeah, there's a figure here at 168. So if we get a break of the trend line, we'll be flying at 168 as well. So there's a couple of reasons there that the market could top. Just there. All right, back to the pound. So looking at this to be a rally, are we going to form a lower top on the weekly chart at 62% level? Yes. This whole range they've got drawn in there is the range of the month. So at the moment, we're at 62. I mean, you can start to decide, do you want to be getting short at 62? Or do you want to wait for the news of the interest rates coming out, job figures coming out to see whether we push up to the 79% level? There is still on the pound dollar here an imbalance here that hasn't been filled. So there's still the opportunity that this could, in the volatility of news coming out later in the week, that we could get up to the 79% area, 126.20 here. So it isn't that easy to determine, do you want to get short now? Because it could, later in the week feel that. But what we are seeing, move to the 15-minute chart, just take the 62% level here. And what you can see here, it was resistance here. The drawing tool. It was resistance yesterday. Intraday was resistance here for a while. Popped above. Support. Support. But now it's rejecting. All right, so any further test of that 62 level, could be a very nice level to get short at, stop just above the high. Of course, yes, volatility news later in the week could move us higher, but of course the volatility of the news could move us lower. So there's no 100% with trading. You have to decide, are you at a level that you like? Do you want to execute? And how can you manage that trade leading into news items? As well, if we draw a fib in from just across this range, there's two 62% levels there. One of the bigger range and this small range here. So you can see why the sellers here wanting to defend the little break of this area that will support as well. All right. So we get rid of these lines. So it may well come back up to test that if you want it. If you like the look of that area now that I've highlighted it, you can watch for a retest of that. Just want to have a look at Just want to refresh my memory where this line's coming from. All right, so there's an area, there's a weekly low here, 25.18. So if you get, and there's a daily low here. So the daily one's a lot less, is most certainly minor. But if you're going to get short, you want to be short way ahead of 25.18 in case that holds. All right, so the real question is, through the course of this week, are we going to see a culmination of this rally at the moment? Culmination at the 62 or the 79? And are we going to be continuing down over the next month? If we see continued US dollar strength, are we going to see that sort of pattern start to run out? And even if you're waiting for news to pass, even if you're not even able to get in because you want to be safe and stay on the sidelines, if you can start to see this kind of pattern panning out, then maybe you can get short, round about here somewhere during the end of the week. Looking for an intraday setup as it's moving down, targeting down here maybe, if that's the pattern that starts to form. All right. Pound yen, massive reversal yesterday. It is at the moment on the monthly scale above this high at the moment, but how long, if we see more intervention, then how long is it going to be able to hold that high? It's a very dangerous area to be long at the moment. Has came down and bounced on weekly support yesterday, back above. All right, but it's difficult to make a bias of should we be looking for a long or a short when you get a nasty candle like that. All right. Because the 4-hour chart trend here is down at the moment. Now, if the 4-hour trend turned up and we're holding above 195.88, then okay, everything's bullish again. Then, look to the long side. At the moment, though, the structure on the 4-hour chart's down after the massive collapse yesterday. So I would tend to hold to that intraday ploy. And, can you see a reversal? At least to come back down and test 195.88. If price can't break below 195.88 on the next test, then of course you need to get out. So we're just at the halfway point. If you got up to the 62% point, 197.86 overlaps with last week's high, that would be where sellers would be. Or again, like I was saying on the euro again, we're at the central pivot point. We've hit 197, failed. Again, we see a trend line break to the downside. That would be in line with the 4-hour chart, failing at the central pivot point, which is often where we'll top out on a very negative intraday price structure. Are we going to see a reversal down? All these yen pairs, this kind of sell-off bounce yesterday, none of them have taken out this high on any of the pairs. Now the euro yen, there it is. We haven't come back up to it. Well, through the day we may, but at the moment, if you start to see a trend line break, then the market's obviously not coming back up to this point at the moment. This is a line in the sand where the sellers are quite clearly defending on these pairs. All right. I'm sure these pairs will all move in tandem. So if you see, if you're getting long and you're seeing all the pairs going short around you, you're probably wrong. I think it's very, personally, I don't know whether we should be going long or short at the moment, really, with the volatility. Trend last week, Friday into Monday, was up very strongly after the bodge. But then with the intervention, it's like, well, if it goes up anymore, will they intervene again? That's always in the back of the mind, isn't it? Difficult to get long. All right, Aussie yen. Now, this is false breaking. Couldn't quite get up to this final high, which is kind of the euro yen high that got false broke. It's false broke the secondary lower, the lower top here. Couldn't quite get up to the final top there. But we're in the sell zone of the historical price action. So for me, it's very difficult to get long here. Are we going to see a reversal? All right. So today chart, nasty candle yesterday. Today we're tagging the 102.82 monthly high. Traded a few pips above it there, but you can see it's not wanting to really entertain any time above there now. So if you saw that early in the day, maybe you could have been wise to that getting retested and failed. Might come back up again to retest. We had one test there yesterday. We've had another test here today. You may see another test. So that's where the sellers are clearly defending at the moment. All right, and if you could sell against there, or we may be at least moving back down today, support at 180. All right, so the 4-hour chart. It's in a downtrend. If we take out that high, it'll change to up. So couldn't get to the central pivot point earlier in the day. It's in the kind of the middle of two figures at the moment. I'd have to be trading against here to get short. Where it's just sitting right now is in the middle of, it's getting support down there at 102. It's getting resistance ahead of 103, and we're in the middle of that area at the moment. So depending on what side of the market you're on, if you just think, well, we're going to see further yen weakness long term, just on this Aussie yen, quite clearly we're getting some support down here at 102. So that's where you want to be looking for your buy opportunity, down at 102, close to. If you can get a tight turnaround down there, that would be a good area to watch. And up here, is resistance, okay? So it's really kind of support and resistance, right? That's where the market's kind of stabilizing at the moment. Now we're going to see a further breakdown. We'll have to wait and see. I'm very aware on these yen pairs that there's a massive imbalance through this area on these candles that may want to get filled, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay, Aussie. Lot nicer price action on the Aussie. It's quite perfect in its formation at the moment. 79% retracement of the monthly range for this month. Monthly high and low. Just got to the 79% level yesterday and then sold off. I got short up there. And we've already had a day down. Now on the 4-hour chart, it's already in a downtrend. Of its most immediate trend that it's been mapping out, or it came up for a lower top. 62 rally, down in the profit taking phase of that most immediate move down. So it's not the best area just to get short right there, but starting to now monitor the next rally. Keep dragging the fib down if price keeps moving down. Coming up to the 62% area there. There's last week's high. That would be a good area to look for a rally to. 65.50 to last week's high at 65.53. All right. Look to sell a rally. New Zealand yen. So to the monthly chart, so we know its position. It's false broke the top. Definitely in, really squash this in. We're in historical sell zone. All right. See down here, when we got to the historical buy zone, what happened? came all the way up to the historical sell zone. So now that we're in the historical sell zone, do you think it could move down to the historical buy zone? All right, so this is not where I'm going to buy. If I can see it, if I can see a really nice setup to get short, and if we're going to see a long-term decline from the sell zone back to the buy zone, there's going to be ample time to see day chart trends change. The weekly trend will change. That will rally and put in a lower top at some point. Okay. You can see over here. See how it comes down. This is the monthly chart, and then rallies up. 79% retracement on the monthly, and then we really get into it. So if we are going to get a turnaround, price action will start to show us. I mean, trend is still up on all time frames at the moment. We just have this horrible candle, folks, breaking the high. And this high over here too. Today, we're not wanting to now get above there. You can see price action day. We traded above, but we don't want to hold above there. And the 4-hour chart, I've just been monitoring all the M pairs the same. Where is it in the position of like yesterday's drop? All right, it's not even getting up to the 50% on this pair. So a 93.44 is starting to maybe hold the pair. What I can see here is this move down today. What happens if we come back up to 93.44 and the 79% level at 93.48? And, unless the euro yen's moved higher, let's have a look. It is moving higher at the moment. So you only want at the moment above the central pivot point. Because you can see down the New Zealand yen, came to central pivot points and sold off. All right, so is this going to come up and hold once more? So that must mean the euro dollar is moving up. It's continually moving up. So let's just go back to the euro dollar moment. So we really need to monitor on the euro dollar, I think. It's maybe coming up to 107.76 up here. It is very choppy. It is actually trading within this range. There's a bit of a range here established. So if it gets above 107.35 today, we could be coming up to that 62% level. All right, but it could also form a little bit of a a little bit of head and shoulders maybe here. It wants to come up to this area. It spikes up, depending on what your position is. There's a 79% level there at 107.35. Not easy. When you look at the 50-minute chart, you think it's going to the moon at the moment, but you can see on the 50-minute chart that massive rejection from up there. So if it gets into this area, watch it. All right, New Zealand dollar. Very similar to the Aussie dollar, except it's a lot weaker. Aussie dollar got up to the 79% level. So the Aussie dollar, if we map the Aussie dollar out, it came up like so. This hasn't even managed to get to the 62% level yet. It's a lot weaker. Of course, we've got the job figures coming out tomorrow, so I wouldn't do anything on the New Zealand pair at the moment, but depending on the figures, it would be nice if volatility just drove it up to the 60.38 area. So, watching tomorrow when the news comes out, most definitely would watch up here. Previous support, resistance, 79% level. All right, so if you're looking to sell a rally, that area up there would be great. As I say, it's nowhere near as strong in its movement up at the moment compared to the Aussie. So whether or not it can get up there, I don't know. but that will be where I would watch for a potential setup if it could. All right. Dollar Canadian, still holding on the day chart here. This big long move. It's not able to get, it's holding on this top here. It's not able yet to get into the 62% area, which is a stronger area of support. So it is holding its strength there at the moment. 4-hour trend has actually turned up here. So we're seeing the dollar Canadian move up, the Aussie dollar move down. And you could be dragging a fib across here now. Do we see here it's 62, 79% retracement, 79% sits right on top of that day chart top. So 136.46 would be ideal to see price come here to move up and continue that momentum back up to the upside. Now, any massive volatility of news could see this, of course, come down to the 36.13 area, but that would be like Thursday morning when we got the FMC. That's assuming that we already haven't pulled back and moved up. If we've already moved up here, then you're already in and long, aren't you? But this would be certainly an area to watch in volatility down at 136.13 in the week, later in the week. Okay, dollar franc is not really shifting out of its range. We're stuck at weekly resistance, and over here is monthly support. Stuck in between that area. What is it going to do there? Still have a higher top, and it's just trapped between those two price points. So all you can do is trade between the two price points until it breaks one way or the other. So, you're looking down here at 90.84 in that region for the market to get support, to turn around, or failing at the 91.47 area up to last week's high for maybe a move down. Now, of course, the FMC statement may well break that out of its range, but ahead of then, that's all it's doing. So those are your options. Okay, dollar yen. Like today, the dollar yen is, for the most part, it's just in like trading in a 30 pip kind of area at the moment. Did spike down here, but you can see all the buying pressure that we were getting on Thursday, Friday into Monday has just disappeared. So day chart got a fraction short of, sorry, let's go to the monthly chart, got a fraction short of. I discussed this high back in 88, 160.33, we've got a fraction short. So quite clearly, whoever's getting in the market, whether it's the Bodge or large funds, they're saying 160 is the top at the moment. They're quite clearly looking at 160 to be the sell area. All right, and we're seeing, whilst all trends are up, even the day chart, we've got the same nasty candle. We're going to see, what we could have is a major double top here, depending on what happens. Are we going to be able to move above? Or, does the market start to maybe feel that countries around the world are getting ready to cut their interest rates, and is the carry trade scenario coming to an end? Or is it just a lull point at the moment? All right, so as all trends are up, we came back down and bounced on 154.78 at the moment. We spent a lot of time down here just ahead of 152. So if we are going to move further down, that could be the base at 152 at the 22 high and the 23 high, for a nice correction down. Because let's not forget, we still have the carry trade really. Until we do get interest rates cut, potentially we still have a carry trade. This may just be a correction. but it is difficult to get long. Personally, I will just be watching to see how this retracement happens here. Do we come up to last week's high? Hold 62 level here, 157.99. At the moment, 157 is capping it at the central pivot point. So I mean, if you are to the long side, if you see a break above 157, and then you can see 157 becoming support. At the moment, quite clearly 157 is holding the market, but if we get a nice pop above here to start to become support, then we could be coming up to the 62, 79% area and filling this imbalance here. All right. Or you could look to the downside. I can't really draw a trend line in, can't draw the best trend line at the moment. One that I would like. This is way too far away from price action. If you could draw a trend line that was sort of like here, and you got a break, but that's not a trend line at the moment, then you might be able to get a really tight reversal at 157, and then does it start to gather momentum to the downside? So this could break either way at the moment. All depends, what you're looking for. All right. Gold. We are seeing on the weekly chart at the moment, obviously a correction down here. Doesn't change the trend, but we're obviously correcting the very large upward move here that we've had. Just checking where I'm getting my line from. This line here is from the day chart. And if we're closing below 23.24, you want to be looking at 23.24 to be resistance to continue down. No, it's lower top, lower bottom, not a lower top. So really, it's all going to be governed by the news, this pair or this instrument. At the moment, it's not able to hold above 23.24 with any conviction. But you can see all the lows coming in here and popping it back above. So it's above and below. It would be nice to see, if I had to trade this, what I would like to see is for gold to break stronger down, come and challenge last week's low, then come up, have like a technical area here with have a technical area there, which would give you a 62% retracement and resistance to see then price action continue down. Now, I know we don't have that. It's just chopping above and below that level at the moment. So it doesn't give me any real constructive idea of how to trade it. But if I saw price action break down like that, I can say, okay, we're going to maybe get a deeper correction, deeper pullback on that weekly trend at the moment. All right, so I'd have to be patient and wait to see for something that I like the look of. All right, Azu, you want me to look at the Nasdaq? It's at the level. This is how I mapped it out last Thursday. So you asked me what I thought. That's what I thought would happen. So it actually did come down. It's come up to here, and that's where it held yesterday. So this is the area, because this is the area that we broke to move down. Is this area now going to be resistance to move down to that all-time high? All right. So if you can see a setup on a lower time frame to prove that it's turning, I think that would be the way to go in that area. But again, stock markets are going to react quite clearly to the FOMC statement. So it's difficult to take a position ahead of the FOMC and the stock market indices, because if it comes out that if they if it kind of looks like the forecast is that interest rates aren't going to get cut for a longer period of time, stock markets won't go up. They're going to come down. If it looks like, yes, we're going to get a cut in June, then stock markets are going to go up. So, that's probably not going to move too far in a day, is it? Day before we get to the big interest rate decision. So difficult. But that's, pretty much performing hours at hour 7 Thursday. Came down, back up to that area. All right, that's my thoughts. Just want to have a look at what the Euro yen's doing. All right, it's creeping up in line with the euro dollar. What's the Aussie yen doing? In the middle of that range, not ideal. The pound. Right, it's back at that 62% area I was discussing before, where we're in the double 62 area. Seeing as we tested that 62 area now 3 times, I'd probably go for the 79% area. If I was looking for an opportunity short, thinking this may be the final top, I'd try to look at the 79% area. So head back into the euro dollar. All right, just looking a little bit toppy there on the 15-minute chart. It's very overextended. Could watch for that 107.35 level, the 79% level. Just hasn't quite got there yet. All right, so those levels I'll be watching at the moment. Any final questions? I think I've covered all the questions. So tomorrow I'm going to go through the setup. I've been going through all the components of this setup in the education webinars over the last weeks. I'm going to pull it all together into a trade setup using a trendline break MACD cross. So if you want to join me for that tomorrow, then just register your interest. That'll be at 7 p.m. and then I'll be back on again on Thursday for more analysis. So if you want to join me, just register your interest at the page. And I look forward to seeing you then. But be very aware, come Thursday, I will most definitely be probably square waiting for the US interest rate decision to come out. So it's not a week to be a hero. I am short the Aussie from yesterday. If that doesn't move down enough, I might have to just get out of that with some profit and then wait to see what the Fed does. So if I see something I like, I'm getting in, but I will have to manage my trades ahead of the FOMC statement there at 4 in the morning. I'll probably have to get up at 4 in the morning, see what's going on. And of course, got job figures on Friday. So well, these 2 items are going to set the tone for the month. We'll have to wait and see. All right. And as you say, my thoughts on interest rates. I don't think the US is cutting interest rates anytime soon. I'm, let me just go to a chart. A chart with some white space on it. What happens if, don't know if I can draw a wiggly line on my drawing tool. Let me just see. Doesn't need to be wiggly. Inflation's been going up in the US and that's coming down. But what happens, CPI has been ticking up a little bit. What happens if it just puts in a higher bottom and starts coming back up? Then we're not going to cut interest rates in the US. So if the US data keeps leaning to high inflation, or that inflation isn't coming down quick enough, well, what are the Fed going to do? Are they going to? They're not going to cut. Maybe they have to raise. So if the data keeps showing sticky inflation, they're not going to be cutting in June, and maybe they're not going to be cutting this year. And if we see that, that's going to be heavy for the stock market. And if other nations like the Eurozone and the UK are going to cut maybe sooner than what the US can, we're going to see those pairs moving down. So that's my thoughts. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm like everybody else. I'm having to manage my positions ahead of all these major central bank announcements, because they say one thing one month and then it maybe say a different thing another month, and then the data says something else in between. So it isn't easy with all these data points. But we are seeing, if you just step back and look at like the likes of the euro dollar and the pound dollar and the Aussie dollar, for example, they're in clear downtrends. They've just been rallying back up on the weekly scale. If they continually put in another lower top, then you would expect them to be continually moving down to maybe a further lower bottom, which doesn't suggest that the US is going to cut interest rates. So we'll just have to wait and see what the verbiage is on Thursday and see what the tone is, and then go from there. All right. Okay, everybody, I'm going to leave it at that. Have a great trading day, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, everybody.